Racism has played a significant and troubling role in the history of scientific research, often leading to unethical studies and the exploitation of marginalized communities. Join me as I dive into the unsettling history of racism in science and challenge myself to uncover the truth behind it all. Here are some key historical examples and statistics that illustrate this issue. The Tuskegee syphilis study was conducted between 1932 and 1972. One of the most infamous examples, the Tuskegee syphilis study was conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service on 600 black men in Alabama. The study aimed to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis in black men, but the men were not informed of their diagnosis and were denied treatment, even when penicillin became widely available as a cure in the 1940s. This study lasted 40 years, during which hundreds of men and their families suffered unnecessary health complications and deaths. This led to a significant mistrust of medical institutions within the black community and has been frequently cited as a major example of racial abuse in science. In 1972, after public outrage, the study was finally shut down. In 1997, President Bill Clinton issued a formal apology on behalf of the U.S. government to the survivors and their families. This incident played a key role in the establishment of stricter ethical standards and the creation of the Office for Human Research Protections. Henrietta Lacks and the HeLa cells. In 1951, Henrietta Lacks was an African-American woman whose cancer cells were taken without her consent during treatment at Johns Hopkins Hospital. Her cells, known as HeLa cells, were the first human cells to survive and reproduce indefinitely in the lab, leading to numerous scientific breakthroughs, including the polio vaccine, cancer research, and even AIDS treatments. Despite her cells' vast contributions to science, neither Lacks nor her family was informed or compensated. The exploitation of her cells without consent raised ethical concerns about the rights and autonomy of patients, particularly minority patients. This case has since highlighted the need for informed consent and contributed to the ongoing debate about ethical practices in biomedical research. It also sparked discussions about systemic racism in the medical field. The eugenics movement aimed to improve the human race by promoting desirable genetic traits and discouraging or even forcibly sterilizing those deemed undesirable, including racial minorities and people with disabilities. Prominent scientists and institutions supported these beliefs, and eugenics influenced discriminatory policies in the US, Germany, and other countries. The eugenics movement led to the forced sterilization of approximately 60,000 individuals in the US, many of whom were from minority groups. These practices influenced the Nazi ideology of racial purity, leading to the Holocaust. Eugenics discredited itself post-World War II, but its impact still lingers in modern science, where issues of genetic manipulation and designer babies are debated. The movement serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of racial and genetic biases in scientific research. Often referred to as the father of modern gynecology, Dr. J. Marion Sims developed surgical techniques for treating vesicovaginal fistulas. However, he conducted his experiments on enslaved black women without anesthesia, believing black people felt less pain, a false and racist belief that persisted for centuries in medicine. Sims' experimentation has been widely criticized as exploitative and inhumane, raising ethical concerns about the lack of consent and the racialized dehumanization of black patients. While Sims' techniques advanced gynecological surgery, his legacy is controversial and his methods reflect a history of racial violence in medical research. A study found that non-white individuals make up only about 5% of participants in genome-wide association studies, despite being over 30% of the global population. This disparity can lead to healthcare solutions that are less effective or relevant for minority groups. Due to historical abuses, studies show that black Americans are less likely to trust medical institutions. In a survey, 45% of black Americans reported a lack of trust in the U.S. healthcare system, compared to 25% of white Americans. This mistrust can result in lower participation rates in clinical trials and preventative health measures. These examples underscore the long-standing legacy of racism in scientific research, where minority populations were often exploited or excluded from ethical considerations. Today, the scientific community continues to grapple with this history, working toward more equitable practices. Efforts are ongoing to ensure diversity in research and build trust among minority communities by implementing strict ethical standards, informed consent protocols, and equitable representation in clinical studies. Thank you for watching, and if you would like to see more of such content, please subscribe to the channel.